Well, after last night's tease, this episode gives us everything that we have been waiting for in what is the true start to the crossover. Hey guys, covering The Flash, Season 3, Episode 8, Invasion, aka Part 1 of the Heroes vs. Aliens crossover. And guys, obviously I was hyped for this crossover. Not gonna lie, I was a bit worried just because it's a little bit different this year. In the previous two, it's been only 2 nights. We've had The Flash, we've had Arrow, and it's gone by very quickly. And I think the first one, like I said, it was like a Flash episode starring, with Arrow guest starring, and then an Arrow episode with the Flash guest starring. And then last year was a little bit different. I actually really loved last year's crossover, as you guys know. A lot of people did say it was setting up Legend of Tomorrow, but I thought it stayed very well as a crossover. It felt more like a crossover. And this one I was a little bit worried about because it's 4 nights, of course. But from going off of last night, it made me very excited from seeing what this was going to be. And I have to say that so far, at least, this actually isn't overstuffed at all. I actually really love this crossover. I thought they easily were able to get everyone, and they actually found reasons why they need everyone. And so far, I'm really digging what we're seeing of this so far. I'm definitely looking forward to the next 3 nights. But let's just get into this episode because there is obviously a ton of stuff to talk about. This is probably going to be one of my longest reviews for The Flash in a while because I have a lot to talk about with this episode, especially the amount of stuff that went on. Let's get to the beginning because we start right off the bat. We see the Flash and the Green Arrow are under attack. They're taking cover alongside some building, and I was confused at first. I'm like, why are we starting in media res? Why is this happening? But when their titles are revealed, it's Supergirl, Spartan, Speedy, and several of the Legends, so we don't really know what's going on there or how any of this was caused, but luckily we do cut to 10 hours earlier, and it starts like a regular Flash episode. And that's what I really like about these crossovers, that they tend to start, especially the Flash ones, they start like regular episodes, and that's the same with this. We see Wally is being around Star Labs, while Kane and Cisco are checking his stats, and Joe and Iris observe, and Wally is much faster than Barry was this early on, we see. It's just a lot better. Like, remember all the Season 1 stuff with you need to be fast enough? Wally is so much faster than Barry was. I mean, he's probably 10 times faster, and Iris wants them to hide how well Wally is doing so he doesn't rush into danger, because obviously we know that Wally wants to fight, but they don't really know if he's ready to, and Cisco's uncomfortable with lying to Wally, but Caitlin complies, mainly because of Barry lying to him. He just doesn't know if lying to Wally's the best thing, but Caitlin does agree to it, because, Wally doesn't want to lose his powers like Caitlin does, and she does bring a very good point up. They don't want him to lose his powers, so HR calls on the intercom. He wants them in the Cortex, and as they get ready to leave, Caitlin suggests that she, Cisco, and Barry go out for drinks, and clearly is trying to make amends between Cisco and Barry, but we can see that's very hard to do, because Cisco refuses to still blame Barry for Dante's death, and that is a big part of this episode. And I think a big part of this crossover is going to be Cisco and Barry. Their bond is going to be a lot different. There's two people who have always been very close, and Cisco we already see is very distant from Barry because of the fact of what Barry did. Even though Cisco is still the same Cisco, he's not really very trusting of Barry, and I think that is going to be something that's going to take a long time to repair. So HR does a presentation explaining he wants to offer tours of Star Labs with extras such as reenactments of the particle accelerator explosion from the particle perspective. As usual, no one's really impressed. They don't really know if this is the best idea, and I don't really know if it's the best idea either if you really want to make Star Labs public. It's just not the greatest idea. And suddenly Cisco gets a satellite reading a meteor is heading for Star Central City. So Barry speeds away. He finds the meteor, which turns out to be an alien ship, and suddenly he's blasted to the ground. Numerous aliens emerge from the ship and stream into the city, and we don't know what's going on here or how this alien ship got here, but right off the bat I thought this was such a great start to the crossover. I love the way that was done, and I like that from here things went pretty quickly, but not too quick enough. Like, they did a good job of starting off full speed ahead, but slowing things down, which I'll get into. But the news reporting on the fallen ship the next day, and Lila's there on behalf of Argus, arguing with the woman about who will handle the ship. And they could have done this where it could have been just an arbitrary reason to get Lila there, but it made sense why she's there. She is, in fact, a part of Argus. We now know that Amanda Waller, of course, isn't the president anymore, because, of course, she was killed. And anyway, I see Viola Davis as Amanda Waller now, to be honest with you. But she's there on behalf of Argus, and the woman leaves just as the Flash arrives. So Lila arranges to meet up with him at Star Labs, and the whole team is there when Lila tells them about the aliens, who are known as the Dominators. And they came to Earth once before in the 1950s. They abducted a number of people and left the planet. There are now 4 ships on Earth. One message was sent claiming both a peaceful mission and threatening anyone who come for them. And Lila wants Team Flash to stay out of it. She does not feel that this is something that they can handle. It's way too big of a threat, and she offers to keep them informed. She thinks that they should be the ones to deal with it. And Barry does make a good point that the FBI, is not nearly as powerful as Team Flash. I mean, they're not metahumans. So, metahumans, I think, are going to be much stronger up against a threat like this. But once she leaves, Wally asks Barry what he plans on doing, knowing that he will not stay out of it. And Barry knows where to find help, because we obviously know that Barry can't just, take down this threat by himself. That's impossible to do. So we see in Star City, kind of like last year, we get a scene in Arrow with the Arrow music, which I love the way that they make these crossovers, full-on crossovers, to the point where they add the theme music behind each, every time we cross over with a show. I thought it was really cool the way they did it here, especially when you have 4 different shows with 4 very different types of music. I thought they did that really well here. But we see in Star City, Green Arrow and Spartan are fighting Vigilante, who shoots at them. The Flash speeds in, grabs them both, bringing them to Felicity's apartment, and he tells them all about the aliens. And I don't know if Vigilante is going to continue to be a threat this season, but I'm guessing he will be. But he tells them about the aliens, and Thea's also there in need of Oliver for mayor duties, and she's so excited about aliens, she actually decides to suit up as Speedy again. So again, they gave a good reason for her to be Speedy, because yeah, that would totally be what Thea wants. And I love, once again, that the second that Diggle showed up, he once again threw up. I think that's always been a funny gag that they've done, how Diggle is so scared of what's going on. Just like Joe, him and Joe really need to have a conversation, because these are 2 very normal people who constantly are being surrounded by abnormal type encounters, and I just think it's very interesting to see. So they decide to also reach out to the Legends, and that very well sets us up for the rest of this episode. So at Star Labs, they wait for the Legends to show up since Felicity got a message to them, and Barry and Cisco create a breach to find Supergirl because they don't know if the Legends are going to get there. But but then we get the scene that we saw last night where we're in Car's apartment. Barry and Cisco wait for her to return. Again, I loved hearing the Supergirl music here. Very cool. And she soon does, and Barry asks Car for help, and we get, like I said, the exact same scene that we got, last night, and most of the Legends join the group, but Nate and Amaya have stayed behind on the waiver. And by the way, I apologize, guys. I know I am 2 episodes behind Legends tomorrow. I will admit there are some things that I don't fully understand in this episode that I'll probably understand when I watch those 2 episodes. I did watch episode 4. I never got the chance to review it, but I promise you, by Thursday, I'll be caught up on Legends. So if there's anything I don't understand, that is my fault. I didn't mean to get behind on the show, but I just did, so it is my fault if I did get behind on it. If there's something that I don't understand, I think I understand mostly everything that's going on, but if there's something I don't understand, just let me know. But when they meet Supergirl, no one believes that she is an alien until she flies into the air and burns her logo into the floor with her heat vision. I was a little disappointed to not see Nate there, because I've really loved Nate as a character this season. I think he's been one of the standouts of this season. He's actually been one of the reasons why I've loved Legends so much more, because of Nate as a character. He's just been so much better than I think Rip was, and I've liked Amaya too, so it was kind of sad to not see them there. But either way, the Dominator set up a device in what looks like an abandoned building. They plan on taking the human leader, and Kara is somewhat familiar with the Dominators, actually. Apparently, a long time ago, they came to Krypton, and they decide that they need a leader. So Cisco votes for Oliver, again, showing that Cisco is not at all trusting of Barry. But Oliver, however, insists that Barry leads, since he's the one that gathered them, and I think that definitely makes the most sense. And I love the way that Oliver is still trying to be that mentor towards Barry, even though these 2 are very much, I think, on the same level when it comes to skills and when it comes to people they've taken down. Oliver still in many ways is Barry's mentor. This is the person who taught him how to be trained, which they make reference to in this episode, and Barry's a bit unsure if he's really ready to be a leader, because Oliver's always kind of been the leader with these things, but Oliver helps him get everyone started training against Supergirl. I love the joke where Supergirl was going around to everyone trying to find out their names, and they all would say, like, she would say their real name, and then they would say what their, of course, their vigilante name was. Thought that was very funny to see. And then I also loved when Iris found out that Oliver was the Green Arrow. She's like, oh, Oliver's the Green Arrow. That makes him even more sexy. I thought that was pretty funny to see, especially Barry's reaction since we know the two are dating. Just really fun stuff overall. Definitely really did enjoy that. Again, just they do such great stuff in these crossovers with the humor, and it's probably even funnier than what they do in the regular show, and I've always really loved that. And Barry then gives Supergirl and Oliver a proper introduction. Oliver insists she not hold back, especially with him, and they talk about how Oliver shot Barry the first time that they trained together, which, yeah, we remember that whole scene where Oliver taught Barry how to be trained in Flash vs. Arrow. Very fun episode, may I just add, so I definitely did like hearing about this, and Ray shows Cisco his new Atom suit, because I guess he just got the new Atom suit. I heard in the last episode he was able to get one, but Cisco offers upgrades, and when Barry walks over, Cisco excuses himself, and Barry then asks about Snart, and of course Ray has to tell him the unfortunate truth that Len did in fact die, which I don't think he's dead. I heard that Len is going to be a recurring character in all of these shows, so I'm pretty sure he's going to come back in some way. I just don't know exactly how, but it does show that at least they're not forgetting about him, which I'm very happy to see, because I've always liked Captain Cold. I know you guys have too, so it was definitely good to hear them at least mention him. So, what I also like about this episode is that it does remember that it is still a Flash episode, and because of that, we are going to see characters from the Flash here that we're probably not going to see in the other parts, but Iris sees Wally outside the hangar, and HR told him the truth about how well he's doing, but Iris insists that Wally's not ready. They argue, and he speeds away, because Wally really feels like he is ready to join the fight, but no, he's really not. I mean, he literally just got his powers, and yeah, he is faster than Barry, but that doesn't mean that he's really trained. He's not really ready to join in the fight, and Felicity notices the tension between Cisco and Barry, and Cisco tells her what happened to Dante because of Flashpoint, and Felicity does make a good point that Barry was doing it for a good reason, but at the same time, you can get why Cisco is mad at Barry. Like, the other characters, yeah, I can, Barry's not the direct result, but Cisco, I can definitely understand. I mean, this is a brother that he always wanted to connect with, as we know, and he had a really good bond with, and now he's just dead, and it's, again, he wasn't dead. It was all because of Barry creating Flashpoint. And we see Stein and Jax asked to speak to Barry alone. Though Barry insists that Oliver can listen too, the four of them go off by themselves, and finally we get to hear what future Barry's recording was that, had frightened Stein and Jax for so long, from what they found in, in Rip's, what do you want to call it? I don't know what to call it, but Rip's studies, but Stein and Jax play a recording they found in the Wave Rider, and it's old Barry in the recording tells them that he changed things by traveling in time, and they should not trust anyone. So clearly, whatever Barry did has had a huge, huge effect in the future, including Barry, and Barry explains Flashpoint, and Jax thinks that he should come clean to everyone, but Oliver says they should wait until the Dominators are defeated. Now is not the time to let everyone in on that, and I get what Oliver's saying. They have a very, very big threat here. If this was Vandal Savage, or if this was someone like, say, even Prometheus, like if this were any of those threats, or Dr. Alchemy or something like that, any of those threats that they've been facing this season, that wouldn't be a huge deal. But when it comes to someone like the Dominators, who are in fact aliens, there obviously is a much bigger threat to be scared of, and it definitely makes sense. But as they head out to rejoin the others, Stein has vision of the same young woman he's been seeing for a while. We don't really know what that's all about, but Caitlin finds him, and Stein asks her to accompany him to his house. So Supergirl ends up kicking everyone's ass in training. Pretty funny scene. I did like the way they joked around about her heat vision, things like that. Definitely really did enjoy that. And Lylan has a meeting about the Dominators with a bunch of suits, including the women from the Four and the President of the United States, and the President agrees with Lila's plan of attack and leaves, and an old man wearing glasses tells Lila that Amanda Waller always listened to him, and Lila would be smart to do so as well, because she clearly is not listening to him, which is something that Amanda Waller always did. But as we know, Waller got killed, so I don't really know why he's saying that Lila should listen to him, because, does he want her to die like Waller? I'm hoping this doesn't mean Lila's gonna die. I don't think Lila's gonna die, but this kind of makes me worried that she might. We'll have to see. But anyways, the Dominators attack the President's car, abducting him, so definitely that gives us another reason to fear the Dominators, and Joe then finds Wally at Star Labs looking up his stats, and Wally's upset that no one has been honest with him about how well he is doing besides HR. And again, some people might have found this annoying, but I understood why Wally felt this way. You know, he feels outnumbered here because he is outnumbered. I mean, he just got his powers and he will do anything he wants to fight. And again, what I like about Wally is that he's not really doing it for selfish reasons. He's doing it because he genuinely wants to help Barry and he wants to be alongside him. You know, you understand why he feels that way, and you understand why things are the way they are, but basically he thinks that Joe and Iris don't really have faith in him because they really don't, definitely. But in the hall, Wally goes up to HR to train him, and HR refuses, and he talks about how they're very much in the same boat where they're outnumbered and people don't really listen to them. And since he believes he would just be sent back to his own Earth if that happened, that it's not really going to work out for him if he does that. But Caitlin tells Stein about Killer Frost as they walk up to his house, and we remember that Stein and Caitlin always had that really nice bond. Like, I like seeing these two work together, and that's something I really did like about this episode, is that the Legends and the Flash characters, most of the Legends have history with the Flash characters. You know, most of them come from the Flash, except for, I'd say, Sarah and Ray Palmer. They don't really come from the Flash. They're definitely more from Arrow, but Caitlin and Stein definitely, you know, Stein, Jax, I'd say even, you know, Stein, Jax, all of them, they come from, you know, the Flash, definitely. So it was cool to see that. But Stein promises to help her if she needs it, and they get to his door and are greeted by the same woman that Stein keeps seeing in his visions, and the woman calls him Dad. So clearly this is a daughter that Stein has somehow conjured up. I don't really know how he created her, but Stein excuses himself quickly and leaves. I am assuming this again is a direct result of Barry from Flashpoint, because you just gotta blame everything on Barry. Anything weird that's happening, I'm pretty sure is Barry's fault, but Cisco finds a recording of old Barry and listens to it, and Cisco finds Barry training with the others, and he's furious at him for keeping secrets again. Now that he knows exactly what's going on, they argue until they're overheard, and finally, everything that they have been hiding finally does come out here, and Barry explains Flashpoint to everyone, literally tells them everything that happened, and even brings up to Diggle the fact that John Jr. used to be Sarah, and this is something that Diggle is obviously flabbergasted about. I mean, think about if you had a daughter, and then suddenly you have a son. It's a crazy scenario to think about, but that's exactly what Barry did. He changed Diggle's, you know, kid's gender, and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really is. I mean, this is someone who was named after Sarah, and now all of a sudden it's a boy. And it's, again, not something that Barry meant to do, but again, Barry does point out very well that he really didn't think about the present or the future. He just thought about the past, and that's the only reason why he did what he did. But I did like how everyone was mad at Barry for this, because again, they have a very good reason to be mad at him. Just like we saw last week in The Flash, it really is ricocheting off of the Legends, and of course, on even Supergirl we see, you know, Sarah tells him how she'd love to go back and save Laurel, but she can't do that because she knows the repercussions, and that's something that Barry didn't really think about, and we definitely see that. But Lila texts about the president, and knowing that there are trust issues now, Barry offers to sit out the fight because he just feels that he's not really going to be trusted and that everyone might not have his back and listen to him. But Oliver stands up for Barry, saying if Barry stays behind, he will too. So Diggle tells Oliver that they can both stay behind, and everyone else goes in to join the fight. So they find the building where the president's being held. Supergirl confirms that he's inside, and Mick calls Supergirl skirt, and they banter a minute before entering, which I thought this was a very fun scene, especially knowing how Mick is and how Kara is, just two extremely different people. I loved this scene between Mick and Supergirl where, you know, she's asking him how he became Heatwave and him showing her how, but they find the president quickly, but he was only being used as bait, and the Dominators vaporize him. They turn on their weapons, and all the heroes start to glow from the forehead. Again, we don't really know how the Dominators are doing this, but it seems like the Dominators can use heroes against them, which I thought was really interesting to see. But Barry then shows Oliver this haunting news article from the future, and of course it was that article about the crisis. We remember hearing about this back in Season 1. Remember that whole thing with Iris West Allen and it being about Barry disappearing from the crisis? But we see that Iris is no longer the author. Something else Flashpoint changed. There's some girl named Julie something who changed it, and Oliver describes his parents' deaths, telling Barry that he would have done the same thing, and I thought they did a really good job at bring us all the way back to the way that Arrow started. Because, yeah, that is the way that Arrow started, with him being on that island and his father killing himself and then his mother sacrificing himself. So he's done a lot of the same thing, and that very much is true. Oliver's done a lot of things that he's not really proud of, and Cisco calls, and Oliver says that he definitely would have done the same thing. And again, I like that Oliver does have Barry's back. Just a really well done scene overall. But Cisco calls them because Star Labs is being attacked, as we see. So outside, the Green Arrow and the Flash realize the attackers are in fact their friends who are being mind controlled by the Dominators, and the Flash tries to fight everyone with powers while the Green Arrow takes on everyone else. And Cisco, Caitlin, Joe, Iris, Wally, and HR watching the monitors. Wally decides he has to help and ignores everyone while he speeds out, and Wally does well in the fight at first, calling himself Kid Flash, but he's eventually knocked out. So again, we can clearly see that Wally is not ready to do that, but Felicity and Cisco trace the signal controlling everyone. The Flash asks the Green Arrow to hold everyone off and try to get Wally to the bunker, but the Flash taunts Supergirl, races away with her following just as fast, and just seeing them have to fight against their team was very interesting to see, and definitely, I think, ends this crossover in a very intense way, and definitely, I think, sets things up very well for tomorrow night's episode. So the Green Arrow carries Wally inside, occasionally putting him down to fight. When he runs out of arrows, he fights with his fists, and the Flash leads Supergirl to the building the Dominators were in earlier. He taunts her, trying to make her angry. She sees the Flash in front of the device that the Dominator set up earlier, and when she lunged them, she passes right through, was actually a speed mirage, and when trying to attack it, Supergirl destroys the device. The glow does leave her face, and she does return to normal. So, as is everyone chancing the Green Arrow and Wally. Again, we don't fully understand the Dominators, but all this shows that they're much a bigger threat than we thought, and that's something I really did like. I like that we don't fully understand the way the Dominators work. Yeah, we did have a brief scene with them, but other than that, we barely saw anything of them, and I like that right so far. So Wally walks through Star Labs. He finds Joe and Iris. He expects them to be mad at him, but they're relieved he's okay. You know, they're not really mad that he joined in the fight. They kind of knew he was going to do that. They're just happy to see he's okay, and that's really what it's all about. They're most concerned about his safety. It's not really about the fact he wants to fight. They understand why he wants to fight. Hell, I understand why he wants to fight. So I think it's completely fine he wants to fight. It's just a matter of his safety, which he's not really that concerned about. So privately, HR does agree to train Wally, and I'm really looking forward to this. It gives HR more of a purpose, it gives Wally more of a purpose, and it kind of gives us this dynamic for Tom Cavanaugh that we really haven't seen before. Tom Cavanaugh has always had chemistry popped, has always popped really good chemistry with Grant Gustin, but, Barry wants nothing to do with HR, neither does Cisco, neither does Caitlin, neither does anyone, so having HR work with Wally is going to be something very different, but I'm very looking forward to seeing how that works out, because that's going to be a very different kind of chemistry that we haven't seen before. And again, it's really, I think, going to show how great of an actor Tom Cavanaugh really is, because it's just going to show a different kind of chemistry that we haven't seen before. So Supergirl scans Central City for more mind control devices while the Flash returns to the others. They meet outside. So we see that obviously the Dominators have these mind control devices, but suddenly White Canary is surrounded by light. Then she vanishes, and the same thing happens to the Atom, Spartan, and Speedy. Everyone left runs for cover. The same light appears around the Green Arrow. The Flash tries to grab him, but is not fast enough, and Oliver is abducted too, so we don't know what happens, and that is the way that this first part ends. Really great stuff overall, but let's just get into this episode and where I think that this is going to go overall in the next episode, and also how I think it's going to carry over to the Flash next week. So, wow, what a way to start off. I really did love this first episode overall. I thought this was a very strong start, and like I said, I really didn't feel it was that overstuffed. Yes, the Legends and Supergirl were there, but it just gave us more characters to interact with, more great interactions. That's something I've always loved about these crossovers, are the interactions we get to have. Caitlin and Stein, they have history with each other. They've worked together very well, we've seen. Oliver and Barry, of course, they have history. Sarah and Oliver, they have history. Not really something they focused on this episode, but I do feel something they're going to focus on next week, because, tomorrow night, not next week, but tomorrow night is Arrow's 100th episode, believe it or not, so I do feel we're going to focus on that tomorrow night, but we'll have to see. Either way, absolutely love this crossover, but there really is a lot to get into. First of all, let's talk about the Dominators, because again, they seem to have these mind control devices, which is very interesting, not really something that we've seen before, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing, how these mind control devices work, how can they stop them, how do they just destroy them, because we saw that Supergirl was able to destroy him, but of course, it's because she's an alien, so that definitely makes sense that she's able to destroy him, but we'll have to see how exactly that works out, because that definitely is going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with that. Again, we don't really know how the Dominators work. We just know that there's a very easy way for them to get into their heads, and we don't really know how. But where did Sarah go? Where did Ray go? Where did Diggle go? Where did Thea go? We don't know where any of these characters went. They've all seemed to disappear. We do know that Oliver tomorrow night is going to end up in a world where I guess he's engaged to Laurel, and we see Moira and John, his father, they're still alive, so I think that definitely is going to be very interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing the way that all turns out as well, because again, that's something that we don't really know what's going to happen there, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's going to be very interesting. Let's talk about Stein, because Stein, randomly, this girl has showed up. I'm assuming that this, again, was a result of Barry. That's why he's now seen this girl here. We don't really know what's going on with that, but that definitely is going to be very interesting to see the way that all turns out. My big question is, are we going to see Caitlyn, Joe, Iris, Wally, HR? Are we going to see them on Arrow and Legends? Because it just seems like we're going to. I mean, we're still in Star Labs, so it seems like that'd be the most logical thing to do, is to just keep them there, but again, I don't really know. We'll have to see. I'm looking forward to seeing HR train Wally, though. It's going to be very interesting to see, is seeing these two train together, seeing the way that HR gets into, seeing the bond that HR has with Wally, I really do like. And I like that right now HR is very much outnumbered. Again, it's a different type of role for Tom Cavanaugh, because every role's been, oh, can we trust him? We know we can trust him. He just has these huge, pretty, I think, very genius ideas that no one really is willing to listen to, because one, they don't really know if they can trust him. Two, he's just kind of outnumbered and they're not really all that well thought out. And then Wally is someone who I get why he wants to fight, but really, I mean, now is not really the time to start fighting. He needs to maybe back up a little bit and then, get trained, and then he'll be ready to fight. So I do like that now he's realizing that he does need to get trained. Definitely, I think that's going to be interesting to see. And as far as the absence of Nate and Amaya, I get why they weren't in this episode, because they don't really have chemistry with anyone. I mean, the only one who could really interact with anyone who has history with is Nate and Oliver. Those are the only two who really have history with each other. Other than that, Amaya knows absolutely no one, and Nate doesn't really know anyone either. So I think it made sense to keep those two away from the team from this episode. I'm sure we'll see them on Thursday. I definitely did feel the void of them not being there, because I feel like Nate just adds so much to the show with his quips and just his quintessential humor. I've just really loved Nate this season, like I've said. So I definitely did feel, I understood why he wasn't there, but at the same time I did feel the void of him not being there. But we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But definitely looking forward to tomorrow night's episode. Arrow's 100th episode. There's so many things they can do. I heard that Deathstroke is coming back, possibly. I don't know if Manu Bennett is playing him because of all the shit that went down with him and the creators that I heard of, so I don't know if he's coming back, but I did hear that he will, in fact, be there in some form, so that definitely is going to be interesting. And then I'm hoping there's a lot more interplay between Sarah and Oliver, because these two definitely do have a history, as we know, and it's not a small thing here. Like, they definitely have a very big history, and I'm hoping that they do take the time to address that, because they have worked a lot together, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. And I'm pretty sure that Lance won't really be there, because like I said, I do think they're trying to write Lance out of the show more, but we'll have to see. And then the other thing is Vigilante. I guess that Vigilante is going to actually play a big role in Arrow. I know that I said I didn't think he was going to be a big threat, but I'm guessing that he will in fact be a big threat, because they were in fact fighting Vigilante in this episode, so I'm guessing that he's going to be a big threat for the remainder of the season. I don't know if he's going to be working with Prometheus or whatever, but either way, we'll have to see what's going down with that. That definitely is going to be very interesting. I love the chemistry between Mick and Kara. I'm looking forward to seeing more of their banter, because that was definitely a lot of fun to watch. The whole scene with Lila where, you see Lila and the president's telling her to trust him. I don't know if that's going to play a big role into Arrow, but I feel like it definitely is. I'm hoping that Lila does listen to the president, because especially, but at the same time, I feel like she shouldn't, because we know that Waller got killed from that, so I'm thinking that Lila's going to go on her own. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with that, because that definitely is going to be very interesting. And then the whole thing with Barry and Flashpoint, of course, that's going to be a big part, I think, of all four of these parts, is what Barry did with Flashpoint, the aftermath of what happened. I mean, this is only the beginning, I feel. It seemed like nothing was affected to Supergirl, and that's, of course, because, as we know, she's in a completely different Earth. But some people have thought that she was going to be on the same Earth now, which I like that they didn't do that. I like that they didn't really have her be affected that much, but speaking of Supergirl, I was definitely surprised to see that Kara did not try to bring Alex or even, especially John, who is an alien, and they're trying to defeat the Dominators, and John, as we know, is in fact an alien. Well, he's turning into a white Martian, but he still is an alien. I was at least expecting to bring those two on, because you kind of need them, I mean, especially for dealing with this. But I guess because she didn't really know what they were dealing with, but as we know, she said, what are we dealing with? Why didn't she bring them in? I don't really know. It just felt a bit strange that Alex and John weren't there. I felt like they were supposed to be there, but they weren't. I heard that Linda Carter was supposed to be here as well. I definitely I didn't really feel the void of them being there like I did with Haywood or Amaya. I didn't really feel that. But it just felt a bit strange to see her and not Alex or, John, who becomes such an essential part of the show. It was definitely weird to see all the characters of Arrow and the Flash and just see Supergirl by herself. It was definitely strange to see that, especially when John, like I said, is an alien. Just a bit strange to see, but I understood they couldn't get everyone, and they tried to keep it from being overstuffed. I understood that. And again, they haven't had much interaction with those two, so it definitely made sense, but it still was a bit strange not to see them. Definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing what else is going to happen here. I am hoping that this doesn't lead Barry to try to go back in the end of the first half of Season 3 and try to turn things around, because I did hear that Season 3 is going to drastically change the course of this season. I'm hoping he doesn't just go back and try to change everything, because it'd just be dumb if he did that. It would feel too repetitive, and it just would feel too easy of a way out. I hope that they don't end up doing that. But either way, guys, really, really great start to this crossover. I absolutely loved this first part. I really hope that the other two parts definitely do deliver, but this was a lot of fun to watch. I had a lot of fun watching. It was a little bit more emotional than I thought, but again, it was slow, but again, we have 3 parts. That's the one thing. I can't really complain that this was slow, because there is still 2 episodes left, and I'm looking forward to seeing what ends up happening in Arrow, Legends as well. I think they're all going to be really great. Hopefully, if they keep the momentum going and they keep things just as interesting as first episode was, I'm going to absolutely love this crossover. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Loved your thoughts and absolutely loved everything that we got in this crossover so far. But that's my review. Hope you all enjoy it, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I am going to review the episode from so many weeks ago, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.